Harry is guilty of treason. Parliament holds an emergency meeting on removing all Sussex titles. Today, there is a trusted source in Britain claiming in The Sun that Harry is a traitor. He is guilty of high treason under 3 sections of the Treason Act. Now, high treason, if you don't know, is the crime of disloyalty to the crown, so we're talking about the monarch here and his or her family. Offenses constituting high treason include, first, plotting the murder of the sovereign or his or her heir. And Harry, in his book Spare, admitted that he was plotting to have his father murdered by a missile, and then he only relented at the very last moment. The second case would be adhering to the sovereign's enemies, giving them aid or comfort. Well, in Spare, Harry included drawings that showed parts of Buckingham Palace, and especially where the bedrooms occupied by the late Queen were. He also included the location of the exits. That information was really harmful to the royal security, and it is also very important to the enemies of Britain. The third case would be attempting to undermine the lawfully established line of succession. Well, all right, let's get into that. Harry and Meghan act like they've got 2 kids, 2 invisible kids, and they insist that they have to be in the line of succession, but nobody has ever met these children. The archofficial in South Africa was the child of Violet von Westenholz. Now, Violet is good friends with Meghan and Harry, and supposedly she was their matchmaker. Violet went with Harry and Meghan to South Africa as the nanny of archofficial. In reality, though, that was her daughter. Not even their neighbors in Montecito have seen any sign of these children. There's no swing set, there's no jungle gym, no other play equipment in the garden. They don't go out shopping, they don't go to play centers, they don't go to other kids' houses. There's only one photo of her taking archofficial to school, and that was taken by her own photographer. And even then, he was wearing this hat pulled right over his head to try to hide him as much as possible. All photos released of the kids are heavily photoshopped and not very well either. The christening one of archofficial has to be the worst, though. So the famous photographer Misan Harriman has made a pretty shocking admission when it comes to Archie's photos. On the occasion of archofficial's 4th birthday, which just so happened to coincide with the king's official coronation, Harriman shared a post from Harry and Meghan's Netflix reality series. And in that, he admitted that Meghan hired him to Photoshop Archie for 3 full years. So it looks to me like there are 3 counts of high treason. Harry has to have his Sussex and Prince titles taken away, along with his invisible kids, and he needs to be locked up in the Tower. That, of course, is the traditional prison for traitors. Furthermore, his mental health and the fact that he is admitted to being a drug abuser and drinking way too much, along with his attacks on the royal family that were so unnecessary, and his blatant publicity-seeking lies, that should be more than enough to stop him from any chance of succession. It does, however, require an act of Parliament to change his current 5th-in-line ranking, because it's not in the power of the royal family to effect this change. And then on top of that, he has this evil, narcissistic wife whose behavior is disgusting and bordering on megalomania and narcissistic behavior, which wouldn't be tolerated by the people of Britain and Parliament in the very unlikely event that Harry ever got near the throne. They have shown such an astounding lack of empathy and compassion at a time of great sadness for the royal family, with the illness of the late Prince Philip and then the death right after, followed by the Queen. Personally, I believe their behavior hastened the demise of the Queen and Philip. That alone should be more than enough to disbar this pair from any further involvement with the royal family. I understand it may not be easy to get Parliament involved and to actually get Harry removed from the line of succession, but I think it would be more than worth the effort to get this done as soon as possible. And if he is still one, he also needs to lose that Counselor of State title. Because I really believe that this is about national security for the UK and the Commonwealth nations. Just imagine what it would be like if you have this drug-addled, mentally ill pervert ascending the throne. How disturbing. And then, who's going to be queen? That horrible, manipulative kleptomaniac Meghan Markle. I'm an American, but still, I really don't believe the citizens of the UK would tolerate that scenario, much less the cabinet, parliament, and the prime minister. The ramifications would be really scary, and they would basically destroy the country. If the unthinkable happened, and Harry somehow were next in line, the government would decide upon who should be king. When it became obvious that the 8th was going to abdicate, there was concern over who the next monarch was going to be. Now, Albert had that really bad stutter, and that probably affected his ability to reign. The Duke of Kent had some sketchy friends, and he was also a drug abuser. And the Duke of Gloucester had some health problems. So they decided that Albert needed to manage. And as we all know, he did a great job, and he managed to cover up his stutter. If Harry were to be considered, I think he would be rejected. I mean, partially because he doesn't even live in the UK, and Meghan Markle would never be accepted. And then we got to think about the two invisible children. I suspect that'd be overlooked too. So next would be Andrew. Again, he's not acceptable. And then it would be Beatrice. I do believe the government would accept her, although people might not be too excited about it because she is the daughter of the Duke and Duchess of York. The situation is probably unlikely to come up, but I do think that William should travel apart from his kids, and George shouldn't travel together with Charlotte and Louis either. Unfortunately, accidents happen, so I think better safe than sorry. In the promotion of his alleged book, Harry was asked during an interview with Anderson Cooper about why he didn't give up his titles because he had such negative feelings towards the institution. And then Harry's response was, what difference would it make? I can only assume that he has similar feelings about his place in the line of succession. If he refuses to give up the titles, justifying keeping them with the question of what difference would it make, then we can assume the same about his attitude when it comes to the line of succession. I found it pretty remarkable at the time that Harry just sat there and complained about how he hated everything related to the monarchy, the institution, how his family treated him so unfairly, all the rest of his whining and complaining. The difference, though, is that it shows a total lack of integrity or belief in what he's even saying. Because if he really believed that everything was as bad as he claimed, that his family was trapped, wherein he had to feel sorry for them because they didn't realize their situation, then he should give up all the titles, including Prince, and his place in the line of succession. That would prove that he's not a hypocrite, that he really understands how to walk the walk as well as talk the talk. But Harry talks out of both sides of his mouth. He wants all the benefits and all the sympathy, because he believes himself to be this big-time victim. There was another YouTuber who explained what happened behind the scenes of that wedding. Now, the source was an employee that had worked at Buckingham Palace and Clare House. The royal family offered Meghan a lot of money to postpone the wedding and then leave Harry before the rescheduled wedding. The excuse was going to be her father's poor health. Well, clearly that plan did not work out very well. It apparently was, though, discussed at the highest level. And also explained was this weird relationship with Marcus Anderson. It has been said the reason that Marcus is still around is both Meghan and Anderson have some dirt on each other. He knows all the skeletons in her closet because he helped her to get where she is today. He knows all her secrets, and she's never going to turn on him. There's way too much information that he could leak out. Now, if he speaks, he could make a lot of money, and Meghan Markle could be ruined. My news today has ended. What did you think about it? Please tell me your opinion below in the comments. Don't be afraid to like and share my video with your friends and relatives who need it anytime you want. And don't be afraid to click the subscribe button to get more updates in the future. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a lovely weekend, and we'll be back to see you all tomorrow.